My name is Sanskar, and in this video I'll teach you how to create this beautiful wallpaper app with Flutter step by step, even if you are a beginner. So before getting started, first let me demonstrate what the app is, how it works, and what are the different functionalities of it. So if we look at over here, first thing first, it's obviously because it is made with Flutter, it will be available for both Android, iOS, as well as for web as well. So I have already published it at wallpaperhub.web.app. The link will be in the description, so you can go ahead and check it out. It's also a PWA, which means it's a progressive web app. So if you will open that on a browser, it will show you an option to add it as a home screen, and you will be able to access it through there as well. So yeah, now let's go and see how it works natively, then we will see how it works on the web. So if we look at the native apps of Android and iOS, this is how it works. So we have a home screen, and in the home screen we have these categories section. So as for the images, I'm using Pexels API, but they don't have any particular categories assigned to them. They just have two different APIs you can call. The first one is for search, and the second one is to get the trending images. Now if I talk about how I have added these categories, I simply am searching for street art, wildlife, nature, city, and motivation, and things of that nature. But basically we have some categories option. If I click on any of those, for example if I click on nature, it will load all the different nature images. Okay, and these are pretty beautiful. And now what we can do, now let's say I like these images, and I personally like, let's say, this one. This looks good, beautiful. Now if I click on the image, this screen will be open, and in this screen we are able to see how the image will be looking on our phone. So basically what it is doing, it's taking all the space available in the screen, and it gives us these two options. So the first option says set wallpaper, and there is a small written text that says image will be saved in gallery. So this image will be saved in the gallery, and then user will be able to set that as a wallpaper. So let's see how it works. So if I click on set wallpaper, first it will save that image in the memory, and then it will close this. So now if I'll close this app and go back to the photos, you can see we have this image, and it is saved at 2:18, and I'm not sure if you're able to see the time, but yeah, so that's the exact time. So now let's try out for another one. For example, I like this image as well, so I'll open the app and open the image and click on set wallpaper. Now similar thing will happen, it will save that image to our gallery, and once it is done, it will close that image. So we have this image as well. Good. Now let's try this out for search. So if I search something, for example I like coding, so I'm going to just search for coding, and I'm going to search some wallpapers regarding or related to this one. So let's see if that loads up. This may be taking a little bit more time than required, but yeah. So this is how it looks. These are different images which is available if we search related to coding. Now let's say if I liked this one, or maybe this one, and I can just say set wallpaper, and image will be saved in the gallery. So if I click on that, the image is saved, and if I go back, you can see we have that image. Works perfectly fine. Okay, so let's give it a try for Android version. So since we are already know how the search and these things are working, just test. Let's test is it the save option is working for Android or not. So let's say I like any image. For example, I like this image, and I just clicked on it, and I said set wallpaper, and as mentioned, image will be saved in the gallery. Now if I'll go back to the gallery option, or basically in the files, and then I'll go in the Android SDK, we will have this wallpaper folder created, and inside that folder we will have our image. As you can see, it is saved just right now. The time is mentioned 2:20 p.m. Okay, works perfectly fine. So as you can see, all the apps for Android and iOS working. Now let's see how the web version is working. So as for the web, I tried, but there was not a best option available yet for downloading of images of that, and I'll let you post it about it through another app which we will build, or through LinkedIn or something. So if for now, how it is working is, you can see it says image will open in new tab to download. Now if I click on this, it will open the image in a new tab. Now if you are accessing this on phone, then you can tap or long tap on this, and it will show you a download option. For computer, you can just right click and do save as. It's working perfectly fine on mobile. So as I said before, go ahead and visit wallpaperhub.web.app and test it yourself. So now I believe the demonstration is done, so let's go ahead and build this thing. So first thing first, I'll create a new project, and you can do that directly through your IDE, but what I'll recommend is go ahead and create the project through terminal if possible, because you will be able to create those web folders and all. Especially if you're using Android Studio, it's not directly creating that. So I'll just go to my main drive, which is CD. I'll say desktop, and inside that I have a folder which is named Flutter project. So I'll say Flutter projects, and then I hit enter. Once I'm inside that project, I can say Flutter create, and then I can name the project. So I'm going to say Wallpaper Hub app. Now I'll just hit enter and it will load for me. So now till the project is being created, let me show you how the API is going to look and what exactly which API we are using. So this is the API. It is called Pexels. So you just have to visit Pexels. You can just Google this and open up the first link. This is the image. So you can see that these are the same images which we were loading on our app, and if you search for these different queries which we have, it will show the same. So now let's type Pexels API, and this will open up this website. So click on this, and this is how you will see. So there is a big brands like Canva, WordPress.com, SurveyMonkey, and all these uses this website. So now you can click on request access, and it may show my API key, but anyways, let's just give it a second. Make sure you are logged in or sign in, by signing up. And once that is done, you just have to click on request access. Okay, so now this is my API key. I request not to use this because not the best option, right? You should just go ahead and create your own. Okay, because it's a limited, and if all of you will use it, it's not going to work anyways, so do not abuse, as they say. Anyways, now this is how the API is going to work. We have this URL, and we also have to pass this header file of authorization. Now if you're not aware of how the API things works, as I mentioned, even if you're a beginner, I'll make sure that you learn this. So first, as our project is already built, so let me open up my project. So I'll just say open. I'll visit up my folder, so I'll say Flutter projects, and over there, as I have named this Wallpaper app, so yeah, this one, I'm going to open this up, and this is a fresh project created. Okay, so this is how the API things work. So we have a URL. Okay, this is the URL. We also have an authorization header. That's what it is called, right? So how exactly are these things going to work? So not to make things very complicated for you, I'll show each and everything, but let's first start by using APIs. Now, just to make sure my laptop is not getting too much with these, while it's able to manage all these, it's not the best option to just have everything open at first. So I'm just going to force quit this if it's not quitting, and yeah. So now the app is done, and let me minimize this one, and I can close this app as well. So let's work on iPhone. It looks beautiful, right? So yeah, this is the app, and let me just first increase the font size. Okay. Excuse me. I hope everything is visible perfectly fine. So let me get rid of that, and then I'm going to get rid of this bottom section as well. And once that all is done, I'm going to go inside and remove this test. We are not going to create any test for this. Do let me know if you're interested in learning that and all, but for this one we are not. So if we go inside the lib folder, this is our main. Inside the lib folder, I'm going to create a new package as called an Android Studio. If you're in Visual Studio Code, you can call it a folder. I'm going to give it a name of views. So in that, we are going to have multiple views. The first one is going to be Dart, and that's going to be home. So home.dart. Then we are going to create another Dart file, which is going to be, this category section. So I'm going to call it category dot Dart. Okay, that is created. The next thing is search dot art. So search dot art. So these are the different screens which we require. Now, okay. Now what we have to do, we have to get rid of this title. We will give this as a Flutter demo to Wallpaper Hub, and I'm going to make my primary color as colors.white. Okay, so once that is done, we need to call our main screen from this home. So I'll go ahead, and this is my main home. So I'll first import material over here, and once that is done, I'm going to say state full, and in that I'll say home. Okay, just make it a little bit clear. Okay, so inside the home, what do we want? We want a scaffold, and we are going to have this app bar, we have the search, we have this little branding. Let's just skip this for this one. Then we have these categories, and then we have these wallpapers. Okay, so let's work on this. So first thing, I'll create a scaffold. Now if you're not aware why we use a scaffold is basically used to get all these different items, including the app bar, body, floating action button, bottom bar, and bottom sheet, and a lot of material stuff, which comes like already done for you kind of thing. So now let's move on and create app bar. So I'm going to say app bar, and yeah, we can directly use app bar, and that was the big reason why we have scaffold. Okay, so now we have a scaffold, we are using an app bar. Now what we can do, we can provide the title to it. Now for creating the title, what we have is, we can see we are using this not just on this screen but on search and other screens as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new package or folder. I'm going to name this widget, and inside that I'm going to create a Dart file which is going to be widget. Now this Dart file is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be, I'm just going to import material, and then I'm going to have a widget which is called brand name. Since all of these different app bars, this one, be it of category, be it of, oh my god, I named the coding widget, but basically in this one we have the branding same, but we have some have a back button, some don't, so that's how the things are different, right? So I'm just going to create the branding, and we can just use this widget. So this widget is this brand name is a widget, and it's going to return a row. Now if you don't know what a row is used to arrange different widget horizontally. So as we can see, these are basically two text arranged horizontally. We can use a rich text as well, but for now, just to make things very simple for you to understand, we are going to use a row. So I can say text, and inside text I can give it wallpaper, and then I can give another text, and inside that I can say hub. Clear? Okay, so we have a brand name now, so let's go ahead and give it. So in the app bar we have title property. In the inside of title I can say brand name, and you can see we can directly import this. Okay, so enough of this. Now let's open this app in this one, but we also want to make sure we are able to see. So what we are going to do, I'm going to take a new screenshot so that we are able to work with that, and also at the same time I'm going to update my home by going inside the home and adding that over here. Okay, so it is done. Now let me open up my screenshot which I have, and open the app. So this is what we want to create, and now let's see where are we. So let me place this somewhere here, and let me place this here. Okay, so this is what we want to make, and now let me run the app again. So if I'll run the app, it's going to take some time. So in the meanwhile, what we are going to do, we have a home, we are using the brand name, so let's also provide some styling to the brand name. So as you can see, the above, the wallpaper text doesn't have a lot of style to it. There is only one thing which I'm going to do, which is going to be color, and the colors is going to be black. I think I have used 87, but if it doesn't look good enough, we can easily change that. It's not a big deal. I'm going to copy this property and then I'm going to go and use blue color for this one. Okay, looks good. Now I can go back, and as I can see, usually all the app bar have a elevation which we don't want. So I'm also going to get rid of by using elevation property and providing that 0.0. Okay, that is done. We have a white app bar. So this is how it should look like. Also later on I'll also show at the end how we can add custom font, because this is a custom font included. This is not a normal font, right? So that's the thing. Now I think the app bar is pretty close to done, so I'll move on to the body, and inside the body I'm going to use a container first. Inside that container I'm going to use a column. Why am I using column? We use column when we want to arrange different widget vertically. So inside the column, as I can see, first and foremost I have to create this search bar, and this search bar is nothing very complex. It's just basically a row with two different widgets. The first one is a text field. Text field is used to get some text input from the user. So that is what it is. We can get some text input, and this is an icon, and inside in this icon I have also implemented a gesture detector, which means when the user clicks on this, we can perform certain action. For in this case, which is to navigate to the next screen of the search. Okay, so let's build this. So I'm going to go ahead in this column and I'm going to create that row. So I'm going to say row, and inside that row I'm going to call children. Okay, so inside children I want the property of text field. So I'm going to say text field, and in text field I'm going to also provide some very important thing, which is the hint text. So right now, as when I captured the screenshot, I have already typed coding, but before that, if you are able to see, there was search written, right? So we want a hint text. How we provide a hint text to a text field is by using a decoration property. Then I can say input decoration. Inside of the input decoration I can use the hint text, and inside hint text I can provide search. It's better to have it lowercase. Okay, now if I'll save this, you can see we got rid of that, and also it is showing an error. So what this is basically happening is it is saying the input detector. So this is an input detector, okay, whenever you have this, which is typically created by a text field. As it can understand, this is text created by a text field. So it doesn't it cannot have an unbound width. We haven't provided a width to property to this, and that also inside a row. So it's becoming a little bit complex and hard to understand for the compiler how to arrange it in the view. That's why it just kicks it out and doesn't show it either. So we will fix that, don't worry. But as we know, we have to have an icon. So just after this text field, we need to have an icon. So for that, using an icon, we say icon, and inside of that I can say icons dot search. So by this we can use the predefined or pre-saved, however you want to call it, material icons. Still it's going to show the same error. It's not going to make this visible. So what we are going to do, we are going to wrap our text field with a widget which is called expanded. What does expanded say? So expanded says that it's expanded, right? So expanded means like it's going to take as much space as it can. So now if I will save this, okay, do we have any error here? Yeah, we don't have to use a semicolon. Sorry for that. Let me save that. And now as you can see, there are no errors and it's perfectly visible. But that looks really ugly. We want something like this, right? So how we can do that? Before that, let me fix the this one first, which is the app bar. So in the app bar, as we can see, we want this to be in the center, but it is at the right. We didn't get that. How can we fix that? So you just have to go inside this widget which we created, which is brand name, and inside the row we have a property which is called main axis alignment. What is it? So well, basically the main axis alignment for a row is horizontal. Okay, this horizontal, and in the main axis alignment we want this to be center. We want this in the main axis alignment to be in the center, so we will say main axis alignment center. And if I will save that, it's going to fix that. Also, it is showing me error that this is a non-constant identifier. It should be a lower camel case. If you're using Android Studio, just right click and go to refactor and then rename. And if you're using VS Code, it will show a rename symbol option. So you just have to click on it and it will work the same. So now I can just say brand name, just renaming it, and I can click on refactor. Okay, so that is done. Now let's move on and make our search bar a little bit more beautiful. So how we can do that? First foremost, I'm going to wrap my row with a container. Why did I do that? Well, very simply, as I can see over here, I do not want my search to be start from the start, but rather I wanted to have some kind of margin at both the sides. Okay, wait a second, what is margin? Well, as for the recent condition, you can understand we are asked to be a little bit far from other people, and that's exactly what I mean by margin, or what margin is. Margin basically mentions a particular amount of width, you can call, at which the widget should be from the others. So if I want to provide it a margin, we can use container, and container have both the properties of padding and margin as well. So what is the difference between padding and margin? Padding is something which is inside, so within there will be some space taken from left and right, and if we want that space taken by outside, because if it will be from inside, this will be stretched, this color which is visible, it should be stretched this place, but we don't want the space taken inside, but we want that from the outside. I hope that's clear now. So now that's why we are using margin, and I'm going to say edge insets dot symmetric, and horizontally we want this to be around 24. So if I will save this, now you can see it's in the center, and it have some margin from here. But at the same time, if I have used padding, it would work the same, because we are inside a container, and that's how it works. But this is let me show you the difference. So if we use colors, and just for the demonstration I am going to use a blue for now. So you can see this is what is a padding, and this is what is a margin. I hope that clears a lot of things for you. Okay, now that's clear, Sanskar, but what we actually want is, we want this to be like this, like this grayish color. Where can the first thing is, how can we have this color? Like, is there any color code already in this? So the answer is no. I actually used a custom color code for this. So let me get the color code, just a second. Where is the color code? Where are you? So okay, so as for the hint text, I use searched wallpaper. So let me make that same. And also, okay, so this is a color code. Let me copy the color code only, and I'll show you the rest. Okay, so I only updated the text, don't worry, I didn't did something which you don't understand. Okay, so now as we can see, we don't only want to provide the color, but also we want to provide these edges to be circular, not just very sharp edges. We don't want that. So how we can do that? So I'm going to go ahead and provide it a property called decoration, and that of like a box decoration. Inside the box decoration, we have both the property of color, so I'm going to provide a color. Now we have a color code, but I don't understand. Like, we usually go for colors like this, right? Like this. But how can we use a custom color code? Okay, now it's showing error for this as well. Yeah, so we have to directly provide that. Anyways, so what I mean is basically to provide it color code. How we do that is by using this. So this is actually the hex code of this grayish color, and 0xff is used in front of it. This is actually defining the opacity, but you don't have to understand a lot about it. You just understand that whenever you want to use a custom color code, just use 0xff in front of it and the color code after that. I hope that makes some things clear for you. Of course, like, it's not going to be very visible because it's kind of a color of how the grayish color of our background is for now. So let's update that. So I'm going to go inside my scaffold and use a property which is called background color, and inside that I'm going to say colors dot white. Okay, so now if I will save this, you can see we have it updated and we have a little bit of visible now how it should work. In the second step, we also want a little bit of padding from the inside, right? We want this search not to be just at the corner, but a little bit spaced out. As we can see over here, we have some space over here, right? So not just margin, we are also going to use padding as well. So let me just paste it same, and I'm going to just change margin to padding. Now if I'll save this, it's too much, I think. We don't want that much, maybe, but let's first provide it the circular edges, and then we will see how the things are. Okay, so moving ahead, we want to have some circular edges. So as we have used decoration box, we can use border radius property, and inside border radius I can say border radius dot circular, and in that we can just provide 16 or something. Okay, now if I will save that, it looks not too much, so let's just increase it because we want a lot of circular. This is a big circular edge, not like that. Okay, now it looks perfectly fine. But since that there's this this bottom line, I don't like this. How can we get rid of this? So to get rid of that line, you just have to go inside your text field, inside the input decoration. There is a property called border. So you have to say input border dot none, and that will fix it for you. Okay, now it looks beautiful, good, and we can type out things here. So I can say same. Okay, we are at a good place. What we want next? Let's just skip this for now. You don't want my branding on your app. So now let me just do one thing. Okay, just after this container, little bit of space just so that we can see what's happening and stuff. We want this categories list, right? And it will be a horizontal list view of categories available. So how we can create that? So go inside the project folder, and inside the lib create a new folder which is going to be called data. Now this is just used to save a local database, kind of how I'll show you how I'm doing that. I'll create a data.dart file. Excuse me. And also these list particular collections categories, sorry, are having two values. The first is the string, or basically the name of the category, and the image URL. So let's create a model for that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder, call it a model, and inside the model I'm going to have a new Dart file which will be called categories model. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a class. Let me just zoom in a little bit, and I can say categories model. Inside that I am going to, okay, for class we don't have to use argument things, so yeah. Now inside that, as I mentioned, we are going to have a category. Is it correct spelling? I'm not sure, but anyways, let's move on. Categories, okay, it was easy. Anyways, categories name, and I can say category. Let's just go ahead and give it a very easy name of image URL. Okay, so we have categories name and we have an image URL. Let's save that. Okay, now let's move ahead and go into the data. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to create a function which is going to return a list of categories model, which will be imported in this home, and then in this home we can create a list view with that data. Maybe things are not very clear, but I'll clarify it for you, no problem. So just go ahead in the data.dart and create a list. Inside that list we are going to provide it the model, which is this one, category model. So I'm going to say category model, and then we are going to say get categories. Okay, so the function is created successfully. I think the text size is pretty big, we don't want that big. Let me import this. Okay, if it's not importing, we need to make sure that we are using the same name. Okay, that was categories. So now we have categories model. Okay, so how this function is going to work? As it mentions, we have to return a list of categories model. So let's create a list which will be of category model, and let's call this categories. For now, this list is very new, fresh. This has nothing data. So let's create category model. Category model is equals to new category model. Okay, so what I did, I basically created a list of category models. Now to save data in a list of categories model, I created a model. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to provide the value to this categories model, and then I'm going to save that category model to the list. Then I'm going to make it new again, and then I'm going to save new data of another category and then save that to the list. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Just for the time's sake, let me just copy paste this. Okay, so as you can see, we have successfully have like copy pasted this. Now what we want to do is we basically want to make sure first that this name is similar to this. Yeah, so what is happening, guys, is basically we are using these getter and setter methods of Dart. So basically for any model, you just have to say dot, and all these different variables which we have inside of that, like category name, image URL, will be available, and you can provide a value to them. And if you want to get the value, this is going to return the value as well, which we will see in the home, how we are getting the data through the model and showing that in a list. Let me minimize this, right? So of course we have named this differently. We have it as a categories name, so let me update that to this category name so that all these will be available as well. Okay guys, now you can see that we have this categories model, and what we are doing, we are basically assigning this URL to the image URL. We are assigning this category name to the category name in the model, and then we are adding that model to the list of category model. Then we are creating the category model new, which basically what it does, it clear out all the different values which is stored in that. Now we have changed the name of this one, so I'm going to just say replace, Control R, and I'm gonna go ahead, copy this and paste and replace all. Okay, so now it's fine. And once we have added enough of how much the categories we want, we are going to return the list of category model. Okay, I think this is very clear, very simple to understand, not very too much stuff. Till now, if you have any doubts, feel free to comment them down below. I'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, so now let's move on and create a little bit of a size box so that we can provide a little height. So I'm going to call it something like 16, and then I'm going to create this. So for creating any list, the first thing which we should do is create the list type. What is the list style? Well, actually list style is something which is already there in the Flutter, but what we want to create is a list item. That's what you should call it, and that is going to be a widget. And for our requirement, we are going to use a stateless widget because we don't have anything which we want to update after we fetch the data. What do I mean? Once I have fetched that it is a street art and I have fetched this image, I don't want to update it later on, right? That's why I'm going to use a stateless widget. If I want to do something after that, I want to update the data later on, the action of the user or something like that, then I will have used a stateful widget. So let's go ahead and say stateless widget. Okay, what am I doing? Let me just name this category tile. Okay, sorry for that. This is just the name of your widget, so don't overcomplicate things over here. So now we have a container. Inside the container we will use a stack. Why am I using stack? A stack is basically used if you want to have one widget above the other. So in this widget you can see we have an image. Above the image we have a container with a black shade, and above that we have this text, and that is street art. So now let's go ahead and provide that. So first we will use a container. Inside that container I'm going to use a child, and that is going to be image dot network. So this is going to be a network image. We don't want to hard code this because this is different for each and every tile, so we want to get the data for every different list item. So I'm going to say string, and that is going to be an image URL, and that image URL will be accessed from here, okay, from this place. So now we said image dot network and then image URL, and this is going to fetch that image URL for us. Just to make sure you guys are clear about what we are building, let me just show it here. So if I'll say that, okay, so we don't have any data for now, so let me just reload this. Okay, still we will have no data, so let me just don't show it now. So yeah, so let's move on and create another container, and that container is going to be having a child of text, and inside that text I'm going to say no hard coding. Let's get that from here as well. So I'm going to say title, and inside I can just pass that title. Okay, makes sense, things are clear. But okay, you have said that these are, but where are these coming from? So as this is saying that it is as marked as immutable, instances field aren't final, so we have to make sure it is final. So I'll say final, and once they are final we have to provide them value. They have not been initialized, right? So how we can provide them value? We are going to provide them value through the constructor. So this dot title and this dot image URL. So let me save that. Okay, so we have the final string image URL, we have the title, we have categories title, we have created the constructor. So what we can do now is we can call this constructor, provide them value of image URL and title, and as I have used these curly braces I will be able to provide image URL first or after, it doesn't matter. It will not be that I have to provide the title first, and they will be now named parameter, which means I will first name what am I providing and then I'll provide the value. To know more, I'll be doing that, so don't worry, just give me 2 to 5 minutes. Now our first image container is prepared. Now let's move on to the next one. We also have the title as well, guys. Now of course these are not hardly structured right now, we have to make it sure that it looks like this. But let's move on, and this is what I usually do. I just first try to fetch the data and make sure that it's visible and I'm able to get it, and it's visible and the list is visible. Then only I just work on the customization part. It's just your preference, but that is what I will recommend. Okay, so let's move on to our home.dart, and inside this home.dart stateful widget, I created this init state. This init state will be called when the application starts. Okay, so what do I want? Well, basically what I'm thinking is I just want that data to be fetched, the data which we have saved in this data file, which is data.dart. I want to fetch all the list of these values of the name and image URL, and then just show that in the list view. So for that, let me just copy this list of category model. Well, I can write that down as well, but you know, just copying will be time saving anyways. So we have this list of categories model, and it is the variable name is given to be categories. Now what I want, I will be saving all these categories. So get categories. So what this function is doing, this function is calling that this function, and this function, when the compiler goes, it is going line by line, line by line, line by line. What it understands, that it is creating a list, and inside of that list it's saving this category models, right? And at the end it's just returning the categories list. So that's what going to happen, that it is returning the categories list, which is getting saved in this category list which we have inside home.dart. And this is happening when the init state, which means when the app opens, we are directly fetching the data from the data.dart file. Okay, I think that is clear enough. So let's move on to the list, and to create a horizontal list view, we use list view dot builder. Then we will provide the item count. So the two very important property for this is item count and item builder. So item count is going to be get it from the data.file. So we'll say categories dot length. So it will get the length of the categories which we fetched from the data.dart file. Inside this item builder, we will remove the null and use the circular brackets, and inside of that we will provide the context, and then we will get the index as well. Okay, once that is done, then we are going to use these curly braces, and then we can provide a return value, which return is going to be simply the widget which we want to be visible for the each item of this list view. So I'm going to copy this category tile and paste it here. Now one thing which is very important for our category tile is, if we call this and we are trying to show this, but we are not passing the values, because right now you can see I can say semicolon, there is no error for now as understood by the compiler. But we know that if we are not providing any values to the image URL and title, then it will be null provided to this image.network as well as this text, which is going to show an error, and it's not the right process. So whenever you are using some kind of these tiles and you are creating them, make sure to use a required property which actually makes sure to aware you about this. So now if I will not provide the values, it is showing me this yellow kind of brightness, by which if I hover over it, it shows that the parameter title is required, so I have to provide it. So that is similar thing which will be done for image URL as well. So now if I'll go over it, it says the parameter image URL is required and the parameter title is required. Okay, so both of these are required. So what I mentioned before was that I use these curly braces for named parameters. So let me show you what I was meaning, that I can say first what I am providing. So I am providing title, then these colon sign, then what I can say, I can provide the value. Well, value is going to be gotten by this model. So I'll say categories dot, we want to get a particular index of it. So I'll say index, and then I say dot, what do I want? I want the category name. Okay, so that's how we go inside the list, and inside the list we define what particular item we want. So as this item builder works, it starts from 0 and go till the item count, and in the meanwhile it creates the list. Then I'm going to provide the image URL, which is going to be categories, which is a list, and index, which is going to provide us a model, and from that model we want the image URL. So now if I will save this, it is going to show us an error, of course, because we haven't specified, or we are not able to fetch this data since the init function has not been called, because for the init function to be called, this screen should be opened up for the first time, not kind of hot restart. Okay, one thing which you can notice that our search bar has been banished for some reason. Let's find out what. So whenever you are using a list view, make sure you're not using it inside a column directly. And if you are, this is what's going to happen. So how can we fix that? So you just have to go inside this list view and provide a property which is called shrink wrap, and provide that to be true. And if you save this now, you can see we have this vertically. Oh my god, now this is not exactly what we want, right? We want these to be pretty small like this, and we want this text to be in the center. We will fix that, but let's first fix that this should be horizontally. So what we will say, hey list view, you are defaultly set it to be axis vertical, but we don't want that. We want this to be arranged in a horizontal manner. So how I can do that? I can say scroll direction. Inside scroll direction, I can say axis dot horizontal, and now if I will save this, it will be vanished. Again, let me tell you why. So whenever you are using a list view and providing it a scroll direction of horizontal, make sure to wrap it inside a container and provide it a height. So for this one, I'm just going to provide it something like 80 maybe. Okay, so now as you can see, it's visible perfectly fine. We have the images, we have the text as well. Okay, so one thing more which I would like to do with list view is provided some padding. We want a little bit padding from here and at the last as well. Okay, so how we can do that? We are going to say padding. We are going to say edge insets dot symmetric, and then we are going to say horizontal 24. So now if we'll see, we have this padding from this side and we have this padding from this side. Okay, that's it for the list view. Now we want to update these styles. So these seems to be a little bit small, so I'm just going ahead, and I don't want container for the image since I'm going to wrap this image in another widget to provide it these border radius. So how we can provide that? We have to wrap our image widget with in what is it called, clip r rect, and inside of that we have a property called border radius. So I'm going to use border radius. Inside border radius, I can provide that to be, let's go for something big, maybe around 16. I think 16 should be fine. I think that's what we are using, but the size is not what we want, right? We want this size to be a little bit smaller maybe. So I'm going to say height 50, and let's say width to be 100. I think that's the exact values which I have used. Okay, fine. But one thing which you can notice, that the width of this seems to be a little bit smaller, but this seems to be a little bit larger. But how can that be possible when we are providing both of them the same width? Well, in short, what actually is happening is this is due to its dimension. Initially, as default, the image.network doesn't try to stretch that image, but we want this for this one, right? So we are going to use a property which is fit. Inside that we can say box fit dot cover, which is not going to kind of like stretch, but basically show it inside and try to take as much space possible and show how much possible. um, as you can see, now it's taking the whole space. One thing which I'm not very good, I'm going to provide this 8. So yeah, now it looks fine and it looks something like this. Okay, what is the next step? So the next step, what I want to do now is I want to provide some kind of space between this widget and that widget. And as we are clear about margin and padding, what do you think would be the answer? Let me give you 2 seconds to think about it. Should we use padding or should we use margin? Speak it loud so that you can understand. Okay, so we will be using margin. Why? I have already explained that. If you're not clear, do let me know. I'll try to explain it much better. But symmetric, we are going to say horizontal, and we are going to use that to be around 8. I feel 8 would be fine. So now I can save this. Okay, 8 is pretty big, so I'm going to go a little bit smaller. Maybe. Okay, so this is actually from both sides. We don't want that. We are going to just use only and from the right. Okay, so once we have done that, now the next step is going to be to fix this text in the center. So how we can do that? We are going to go inside this container, and inside this container we are going to use an alignment property. If I say alignment dot center, and if I will save that, it comes out to be here. Now you may be thinking, why is it thinking that this is the center? It doesn't make sense. Well, we are not clear about what is its height and width, but just to show what it is, and if I'll save this, you can see this is the height and width of this container. So that's why for it this is the center. We don't want that, right? So we are going to provide it height and width. So now it will be similar to how it is. Okay, just a second. Now it will be similar to how it is for the back one. So now we can get rid of the color, and now it is visible how it is there, right? Structured. But we do want some color. We want to provide it some kind of shade. So I'm going to say color, and then I'm going to say black 87. It's too much. So how much did I use? I think I used 26 for that. Looks fine, looks good. We want to update our text with providing it some styling. The main styling which we want is the color of it. We want the color to be white to make sure that it stands out from the background. And I'm going to give it white, pure white. And I'm going to give it some font weight so that seems to be a little bit weight, and it's much more easy to visible to the user. Okay, looks good. We have nature. As for the font, we also can provide some font size. What about 16? I think 16 is good enough. We can go for 15. Yeah, that's not very big thing difference, but we have it done. Okay, so next up we want these, but before loading these wallpapers, we need to fetch that data from the API. So let's go on and get our API. So this is the API. Now, if you're not a lot aware about API, since this is an API which requires an authorization of this API key, I'm going to open something which may terrify you. Which may make you feel, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to understand this, but bear with me, I'll make sure that you do understand. So this is called Postman, and here you can get a visual representation, or basically you can see how or what we are getting. This JSON, right? This JSON, we can see what we are getting when we are fetching through this URL. So you can just copy this URL, go over here and paste this URL. When you will do, it will directly get the keys from this, and as you can see, this is query per page and page. So per page is basically how many wallpapers we want. Query is what we are searching for. So let me change that to coding. Okay, so now it's updated. But to use this API, we need to provide the authorization, which I have already done. I have provided the authorization, and this is my API key. Then I can click, make sure this is get, because it will be initially be post, but this is a get request. How do I know that? Well, they says that this is a get. They mentioned it somewhere. I'm not sure where I see that. Okay, so overall, yeah, the get thing works. So just you select that to be get, and this. So just to tell you how what this Postman is, you can download this for free. It's free of cost, nothing there, but you don't have to, because I'm just using this to demonstrate and explain you what we are getting and how the things are going to work. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is what we get when I send a request through this URL with my API key. So you can see I searched for coding and I wanted 15 images for that. So per page is 15, and I searched for coding. So as you can see, these are the images which we get. So first thing which you should understand, this is JSON format. Inside this we have two things. we have a map or a list of map. Okay, so I think the list is very clear. List is basically collection of an item of one kind of like that. And if we talk about what is a map is a key value pairs, right? Map is a collection of key value pairs. Now if we talk about that, you can see this is a key and this is the value provided to it. Now if our the JSON which we get starts with this curly braces, then it means that we are getting a map back. But if it starts with this square bracket, which means we are getting a list of map back. This is important when we are fetching the data, so make sure you are clear about this. Okay, so this is the map, and inside the map we are getting these keys and their values. But we are not very excited about this. We don't want these values because we are the one who provided that page to be 1, per page to be 15, and so on. So what do we want? Well, actually what we want is we want these values, and especially we want these values of portrait, because we are making a wallpaper app for our phone and we want some portrait images. So we want this URL over here. So let's see how we can get to it. So to get to it, this is a key and it has a value, but let's see what the value is. So value starts with this square brackets, which means it is a, what is it? It is a list of map. Okay, so inside this list of map we have one list item, and in this is a list item of map. So it starts with this curly braces, which means it is a map. And inside that map we have key value pairs. So this is the key, this is the value, this is the key, this is the value. So these are very important. If you want, you can use them, but for my app, this which I created, Wallpaper Hub, I only used this one, this URL, which is the most important thing. So we have to go inside this map and we have to get the value of this one, and especially this portrait one. Okay, so this is what it is. We have a map and we simply have to get these values. Now how to get them is what we are going to see. So first, what you have to do, first thing first, go ahead and inside the data create a string. So let me make sure it's visible perfectly for you. I'm going to create a string, call it my API key. It's not recommended to create it over here. You should just go ahead and create it somewhere else, but you know, and make sure to add it inside the git ignore. Okay, so we have that string added to our data. Now we can get that. So now to get the data, I'm just going to go ahead and create a function for it, and that function will be called when our app starts. So whenever we are starting the app, I will fetch the trending. So as you can see from the API that we have multiple things available. We can either search for photos by providing it a query, which is the URL which we were testing right now before, but for starting I am getting this curated photos, right? These curation of photos is something which they have on their website itself. So if you go on pixels.com, you can see these are the exact images which we are fetching. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and all, like, right, these are the images which we were fetching. Okay, so we will initially call this URL to get the curated photos, because we don't know what kind of taste the user have. So we are going to show the most popular images, and then when the user clicks on any of the collection, we are going to show the images according to the collection, and if he searches something, we are going to show accordingly. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on and create a function for that. So I'm going to call that function get trending wallpapers, and then I'm going to create the curly braces. Inside that, I'm going to create a variable which is going to be the response. Okay, Saskar, what is this response? So basically response is what we are getting from the API call. So I'm calling this API with my authorization header of authorization key, which is what we provide, and it is providing me this JSON format data. So this is whole response. So now I can say response is equals to, now to perform this post request, get request, we use a package which is called HTTP. So you just have to go to pub.dev and over here you should just go ahead and search for HTTP and just search for it. Click on HTTP and then go ahead into installing, copy the dependency, go to your project, click on pubspec.yaml, paste that it over here, click on packages get. If you're using Visual Studio Code, you have to do the same. Go to pubspec.yaml. You can just save this when you come to the pubspec YAML and added this, and it will load the packages for you. Okay, once that is done, it will show this that the process has been finished with exit code. So now what we can do, we can use that HTTP. To use that, we have to first import it. So I'm going to say import HTTP and this one package http/http dart as HTTP. Okay, now what I can do, I can say HTTP dot, what kind of query is this? This is a get request. So I'm going to say dot get, and then I'm going to provide the URL. So what is the URL? Let's go ahead and copy the URL. So I'm going to go to the documentation, and as I mentioned, we are going to get the curated photos first, not the search photos. So we are going to copy this URL of curated photos. Okay, so as they mentioned, we add at least one photo per hour to our curated list and so on like that. So I'm just going to make it a string and that then end it. Okay, now one thing is very important. So there are different kinds of APIs, guys. In some you directly provide the API key in the URL itself. In some you are providing these authorization headers. So in this one we have to provide the header to get something, because if I go ahead in this one, just for the demonstration, don't don't get like worried, wow, what is this? I know it seems really too much. So yeah, if I get rid of this, which is how it is right now. So right now what I'm doing, I'm just providing the URL and I'm getting, saying to HTTP dot get request for this URL. So what is going to happen? So if I'll send this, this is what I'm going to get: authorization field missing, right? So we have to provide the authorization for this. If you have seen my recipe app which I have built with API of admin, in that one I actually use the API key inside of their URLs. We don't have to provide any headers, but for this one we have to. So how to provide headers? You just have to go ahead and say comma, and there is a property named parameter which is header. Inside that we are going to provide this curly braces, and in that we can provide that authorization, and then we can say API key, which is the key which we save to our data.dart file. Okay, that will be automatically imported. If it's not, you just can click on this, go ahead, there will be like bulb icon, and just import that for you. Okay, once that is done, then you have it already closed. So let me just close that. Okay, yeah, so now we have this response. Now just for you, if you want, I can show you what this response is. So let me say print, and inside that print I'll say response dot body dot toString. Okay, so now the first thing which is very important is, as you can understand, this is going to take some time. It's not going to be something which we are getting the data from our database or from our data.dart file, which is kind of directly saved. We are actually making a request online, and according to or depending on the user's internet connection, it can take a lot of time. So that's why it is saying that response.body, the data or this body which we are getting, is going to take some time to fetch, right? So as it says, let me just hover over it. It says the body isn't defined the type of future response. So it's a future, and we are directly calling it. It's not going to work like that. So what we can do, we can actually wait for this. So how that works? So this is asynchronous programming and how it is called. But basically what you have to say, you have to use this await function. It's not a function, I think, but basically when you provide this before this, it's going to wait until this is completed. Once this is completed, then only it's going to move on to the next step, and that's exactly how it works. And to use await, we are going to use this async to our function. I hope that's clear. Okay, so now we can actually show this. Okay, so it's not going to show anything over here, so you don't have to see here, you have to see over here. Okay, so let me run the app, and okay, So right now it is showing an error because this HTTP thing is imported and we haven't kind of restarted the app. So first thing first, before that, let me call this when our app starts as well, so that the function gets called, because if you're not calling the function, then whatever we are doing inside of it is never going to be called. So let me just go ahead and see the error. So it says could not resolve HTTP and package this, so it's not able to resolve this. So to do so, I'm just going to relaunch the app again, and now it should. Okay, so let's give it some seconds to get done. But basically what we are looking, that exact thing which we were seeing over here. So let me get the value back, send. This is what should be visible over there. So now you can see we have the same data. We have per page 1, per page 15. Yeah, okay, so I believe that's perfectly visible. So we can see we're getting the same data, and it ends with this one, which means we have a lot more data to show. So you can see we are getting that exactly uh, JSON part over here. But you may be thinking, okay, Sanskar, that is fine, but we don't want that here. But we want to show that here, right? So let's work on that how we can show that over here. So to show that data over here, we have to save that first. So let's do that whole step, how it's all going to work. So first, as I explained before, it is a map, right? And what is a map? Map is type of key value pairs. So we firstly have to provide, whenever we are defining a map, we have to provide the data type of the key. And over here in this one, we can see the value changes. For example, some values are of string types, which means these double quoted, these are strings, but some are values of integer, or you can call it double, right? They are basically integers, so they are of different types. In that case, what we can use, a data type which is called dynamic, and then this is a map. Now let me give this map a name, and that is going to be JSON data. Okay, so how we can get that? So we have this body available, but we want to decode this body, right? It's kind of like solving secret code kind of. But basically we will be providing this body to a function which is called JSON decode, and it will do it for us actually. Right? So we can just say JSON decode, and we can provide that response.body. So I don't want this to be visible or printed now, so I'm just going to comment that, and then this is done. Okay, so now what this JSON decode function is going to do, it's going to get a JSON from this response.body. Okay, so let's move on and see what's next. So inside of this JSON data, what I can see, I want to go and get the value of this key, which is photos. Now photos is directly, understand this very importantly, photo is directly a key of this map, because as I explained before, this is a map which we are getting, right? Because it starts with this curly braces. So I can directly go inside the JSON and call the key and get the value of it. Is it clear? Because if I want the value of, let's say, ID, it's not directly available over here. So if I go ahead and say over here, let's say JSON data, and in JSON data I say, let's say, ID, I will not be able to get it. Why? Because it's not available directly here, right? It's inside of this photos function, or not photos key, and this is the value, right? Photos value. So what we can do, we can first go inside the photos, because it is directly available inside this map as a key, so that we can get its value. Now inside that, what we can do, we can say dot for each. So wait a second, why we are using for each, and what is for each? So for each is basically kind of a loop function, which is we want to do something again and again until some certain condition. So that is what a loop is. Loop is something we are performing a kind of task again and again until a certain condition is fulfilled. And if we talk about for each, let me explain what we want to achieve first, and then I'll explain why we are using for each. So as I mentioned before, if we have this square brackets, it shows that this is a list of map, not a map. So if it is a list of map, in that case we want to go inside that list and fetch the first list item, then fetch the second list item, then fetch the third list item until we get the data. So I hope you understand. We are getting the data, but we will be fetching that data again and again until the data has been fetched. Got it? So it's a loop thing which we are going to do. So for that we are going to use a for each loop, and inside the for each loop, if I use this, we are going to get a element return, and this element is going to be nothing but the value. So what is it? What is this element? This element is going to be the item of it. So this one, up until this part. Okay, so this is first item of the photos, and this is what we are going to get as an element. Okay, so let's move on and see how we can use this. So inside this element, what we are going to do, first let me show this element by printing this. So I'm going to say print, and then I'm going to say element. Okay, now I can run this and show you. As I mentioned before, it's not going to be visible on the screen. It's just something which task which we are performing to see how things are working on the back end. So initially what will happen, our function of init will be called when our app starts, and then it's going to call this get trending wallpapers. Inside the get trending wallpapers, it's going to make a get request to this API with our API key of authorization header. Then we are going to convert that JSON decode, basically the data which we get through JSON decode, and inside the photos key we are going to get its all the different elements, and we are going to go through each and every one of them one by one and going to print them. So let's see is it working or not. So as you can see, we are able to get the ID of 3757147, then we were able to get 406. So these are basically all the different list items, or basically you can say the photos value, or this is basically a list, right? So we are able to get the list items of this, which is basically a map. I hope everything is making sense till now. If you have any doubts till now, just comment. Don't worry, don't hesitate, just comment them below. I'll try to answer them as fast as possible. Just a second. Okay, so once that is done, what we have to do next is, let me just comment this. And now when we have the element, what we want the from this element we want some certain things. Okay, so we don't want this height, we don't want this width, we are not using that, we are not using ID, we are not using the photographer, which you should it was not, I was not just able to add it to the UI, that's why. But basically, let me close that, don't say. Okay, so basically what we want is, I want this photographer name. I'll just get it. If we can somehow use it in our UI, we are not using, but I'm just getting it so that if you want, you can show that data. Then we will be fetching the photographer URL, we will be getting the photographer ID, and then we will be getting this source, and inside the source we will be getting that, just a second, we will be getting this portrait, and this is the exact URL which I'm loading over here. Seems a little bit complicated, isn't it? Yeah, don't worry. We will make it work. So just go inside the project, and we will create a model of the things which we want. So I'll create a Dart file which is going to be a model, and this is going to be a model of, let's call it wallpaper model. So I'm going to create a class, and that's going to be called wallpaper model, and inside of that, as I mentioned before, I'm going to have some different properties. So let me place this here, what we are getting, so like that. Okay, so as you can see, we are getting this photographer which we want, so I'm going to copy that, paste that here. Just to mention, the source code will be available on the GitHub, it has already been posted, so just go down in the link in the description to the GitHub and check the source code out if you feel anything you missed or something of that nature. Okay, moving on, we want the photographer, we want the photographer URL, so I'm going to say string photographer URL, and then I'm going to say string we have photographer ID. Sorry. Okay, once we have all these different values, we also want this src, and inside this src we want all of these. But what you like, what I am first thing, I should be stop clicking on this, but yeah. So first thing which you can understand, that this source, which is a key, don't have a value of a certain data type. It's not a string, it's not a kind of like integer or something, it is actually a map, right? The source have a map in itself. So we have to create another model for that. So we'll go ahead and create a model which is class, and that is going to be src model, and inside that we are going to have certain values. So I'll be fetching up original, so I want string original, and then I want a string small, I want a string portrait, TRAIT. First of all, you don't have to make sure every name is right over here. We have to in the next function which we will be creating, and I'll tell you, but right now you don't have to. I'm just making sure so that it becomes a little bit easier next when we are creating that function. Okay, so we have this original, we have small, we have portrait. Okay, so now what we can do, we can say we have an src model, and that is src, this one. So I think now it's clear why I created this model, because the data type of this one, of this key, the value of this key have a data type of integer. Actually, this is a mistake which we are doing. We have provided this string, so let me make it integer. So the value of this key have a data type of integer, so we will say integer and then give the name of that. Similarly, over here the value have a data type of string, so we provided the string. But for src, because it was a map, so we created a model for that with all these different key and values, and we wanted portrait, and portrait is a key and the value of it is a string, so we says string portrait. I hope things are clear. Now we are going to go ahead and create constructor for both of these. So over here, come and say wallpaper model, same name as we have provided here, and we will create them a named parameter. How we create named parameter? By using these curly braces inside these circular braces. So you can say this dot src, this dot this dot photographer URL, and then we use this dot photographer ID, this dot photographer. Okay, now it is become a little bit not easy to read, so let me soft wrap and get rid of that. Okay, so this is what we have. We have a constructor for this. Now let's create a constructor for src model as well. So I'm going to say src model, and inside that I'm going to make it a name parameter. So this is going to be this dot portrait, and then this dot original, and then this dot small. Okay, now the first thing which comes to the mind is, okay Sanskar, we are getting this, but we want to get a particular URL, right? Maybe particular URL of the portrait, or basically this URL, right? The value of the portrait. So how exactly that thing is going to work? So the reason why I have created this model is basically what I'm going to do. From this JSON, I'm going to fetch the value of these individuals, and then by using I'm going to set those value to these models by using the setter methods of Dart, and then I'm going to get these values in the my home.dart by using getter methods. That doesn't make sense? Don't worry. I'll try to make it sense. Make sense, right? So to do so, what we do, we create a method which is called factory. So what it does, before that, let me come over here and show you what the problem we are facing, and then I'll show you the solution. So now in this one, as you can see, we printed the element and this is what we are getting, but we don't want this. We want the individual value of this, right? So what we have done in our data file, similar thing will be done over here. That's why I'm mentioning that. In data file, what we did, we use this setter methods that we set the model dot this, and we provided the value, right? And then in our home.dart, we use that same thing, categories index and dot this, but this time we are not providing the value, we are actually getting the value. Okay, so this is called getter and setters. In this one we are getting the value, so it is called getter method, and in that data file we are setting the, so it is called setter method. Hope that is clear. Now how we are going to do that now? So we have this, okay, so we want the individual values. So how we can get them? Similarly we did for JSON data. How we get this photo? We get by calling the key and getting the value of it. So we can say JSON data. So we don't want JSON data. What we want something similar like a list. So I'm going to say list of this wallpaper model, and I'm going to call it wallpapers. Okay, so we have created the list of wallpaper models. So now what we can do something similar we have done for our categories, that we will be able to call it something like this. So over here, like categories, we can say wallpapers. Just want to show you, it's just wallpapers dot. We can say, we can provide it an index. So let's say I said this is the index, then I can say dot, then I can get all these different values. Now inside the src option, I can say src dot, I can say portrait. So by this line I will be able to get the portrait. So this is a getter, but before that we want to set that, right? So I was just showing that so I can tell you why I use this or created this list in the first place. So now we have this list. Now to save this, how we saved that in data? Well, in data what we did, we created a list, and after creating the list we created a model, right? The model which we're saving. Then we provided the value to the model, and then we added that model to the list. Same thing will be done over here. So we will create a model. So what is the model? Model is wallpaper model. Wallpaper model is equals to new wallpaper model. Just the defining of it. Inside the wallpaper model, I want to get the value of JSON data of which one. So we basically want the value of, just a second, where is it? So we want the wallpapers, and that's available inside the photos as a list. So we are directly getting this, right? If we are directly inside of it, but the problem which we are having is this element is in itself the value, right? We have to just get this particular key and provide that data to individual values of the model. So we cannot do it directly by this place, right? We cannot do something like, you know, I can say something like id, because that id is actually a integer value, but what we want is a wallpaper model. So we cannot do it directly that like this. So what we do is we go inside that model which we created before, and we are going to create a method which is called factory method. And bear with me, it may seem like alien to you for the first time, but it's easy. Inside this factory method, what we are going to do is we are going to say wallpaper model dot from map, and this dot from map is going to accept JSON. So I'm going to say map, and as we did before, the value key will be of type of string, and the value will be of dynamic. Why dynamic again? Well, we have integer, we have strings, you know, we want them all, so that's why. Then I can say JSON data, then I can create these. And now from this function, what I want to return is, so the whole purpose of this function is it's going to accept this JSON which we have. This element is a JSON, right? As I have printed this element, you can see it is a JSON we are getting. So the whole purpose of this function is to get the JSON and return a wallpaper model. Makes sense? I hope so. Okay. Now inside of that, what I want, I'm going to call these parameters. So I'm going to say src, and then I'm going to say JSON data. Okay, and now I can say JSON data src. So I believe you are getting this. You know, we cannot directly provide id or something to wallpaper model, but we can do that individually by the constructor of it. I would like to give you some seconds to think about. If you have any doubt, like, just think about it. If you have doubt, comment them below. We all are here to help each other, so I just want you to make sure this is clear to you, because API thing is very important whenever you are creating any kind of apps. So yeah, okay. So now let's continue. So once we have that, what we are going to do, we are going to provide that JSON data, and then we are going to provide that key. Okay, let's continue. We have photographer URL. I'm going to say JSON data, and inside that, JSON data, and I'm going to provide that. So what is the photographer URL key? So this is the key. So okay, now last time I was mentioning that you don't have to have this photographer URL and this one as same, but you have to have this JSON data photographer URL same. Okay, so that is what we mean, because this is how we are getting that value of that key. You know, we are saying that in JSON we want this value. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what we want next is we want photographer ID. So you can say JSON data, and we can provide the photographer ID. Then what we want, then we have a photographer, so I can say photographer JSON data, and then I can provide photo photographer. Photographer. Okay, makes sense, hope so. Okay, so now this is done. We will be doing something similar or same for the src model. So we will say factory. Now why am I doing this again? Well, what I am doing, I'm providing this src as a JSON data, but we want to, kind of decode that data. From that data we want to like provide this portrait URL to portrait. We want to provide this small URL to small. That's why. So inside this factory I'm going to say factory and src model, because right now this is the exact same problem happening. This src is actually a model of these different string, but we are providing it as JSON data, so it is going to give us an error. It's not going to function how we expect. So we have to create something similar like wallpaper model from map. We are going to create src model dot from map. In that we are going to say map, and then we are going to say string, the data type of key, and dynamic, the data type of value, and then JSON data, and then we are going to return src model. So rather than just giving it JSON data over here, I'm going to say src model dot from map, and then I am going to provide JSON data with the value of src. Now only it will be going to work fine. Now inside of that we are going to use our named parameter constructor, and I'm going to say portrait, and that portrait is going to be JSON data, and yeah, the same. So I'm going to say portrait, and then I'm going to say original JSON date, and then we are going to say original. Then we have small JSON data. Okay, so as you can see, we have directly created this factory method. What it is doing, it is basically accepting a JSON and converting that to a src model, and that is what it is returning. We are saving that in our factory method of wallpaper model. Why we created that in the first place? Because when we were getting the data, we are actually getting the element which is a map, but we don't want a map, we want a model list. To get a model list, as we have done in the data.dart file, we firstly create a model and save value to the model, and then we save that model to our list, right? If I'm feeling a little bit faster, there is an option in YouTube to slow it down. Okay, anyways, now what we can do, we can call that method which we created. It is wallpaper model dot from map, and we can provide the JSON data. So inside this JSON data I'm going to call that, what is it called, just a second. Okay, we don't want the JSON data because it's already a JSON data and we are inside of it. So we can say element because we are going for each and like that. So now this is going to work for us. We are going to get the model, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say wallpapers dot add wallpaper model. Okay, so now this is going to work exactly how we want. As we can expect. As a programmer, we cannot say it's 100% done, but yeah, it is. Okay, one thing more which is important, as we discussed before, that it is going to take some time. So while we are doing this initially, this wallpapers will be null, right? The data inside that will be null. So if we will try to load images through it, it will show an error simply, right? So it's fine for some time, we'll fix that. But the problem which is actually is, even when we will get this data, there will be no update in the screen, right? The data will be there, but the image will not be able to fetch, because we have to update the screen with the new updated data. So how we do that? We use set state for that. So I'm just going to say set state. So once all this function is being called, we are able to get all the data. We are going to call this function which is set state. What it does, it basically recreates the whole screen with the newly updated data. Make sense? Okay, now let's move on and see if it is working. So to see it in action, let me just create a tile for it, as we did for different of for our categories. We are going to create a tile for this, and that tile is going to be very simple, but the main thing is going to be how it is introduced, because it will be a grid view, not a list view. Okay, so let me just create a different widget for it, because you can understand we will be using the same grid view inside our categories, inside our search. So I'm going to go inside the widget and going to create it over here. So now this widget is going to be called, let's just call it wallpapers list. And to accept the arguments, we will figure that out when we are building. Right now let's provide nothing over there. And what is it is going to return? It's going to return a container which have a child as a grid view dot count. Okay, so the first thing first, to show any data in our grid view, we need data. Very simple to understand, right? So what that data exactly is, it is a list of wallpapers. So I'm going to copy that and provide it over here. So this is basically representing, let me import this. This is basically representing that you have to provide wallpapers as an argument, and we also will be requiring to use context. So I'm going to get that as well. So I'm going to say context. So now we will be asked to provide both these parameters, and to make them named parameter, I'm going to use this curly braces. Let me end this container with a semicolon, and then what I'm going to do, let's work on the grid view. So inside the grid view, the first thing is cross axis count. What does it mean? Well, cross axis count means cross axis. So the cross axis is horizontal, because it will be a vertical grid view. That is the default grid view which we are using. So vertical is the default axis of it, and in the cross axis count, it basically means how many items you want. So I'm going to say it to be 2, because we want 2 images to be visible. Okay, makes sense, right? Next, what we want, we have to provide the child aspect ratio. Now this is very important, because if let me just say child aspect ratio, if I make that to be 1, it will be a square image with the height and width equal. But because we want this to be something like a vertical image, we'll be using 0.6. If you want that to be something like a horizontal image, then you can use it as a 1.6. I always highly recommend to play with these numbers. As much as you will play, as much as you will do different things, you will learn more, right? Okay, so now let's move on. There is a next property which we will be providing, that is going to be padding. So for the padding which we are going to provide, it's going to be pretty simple, not very much, because the main padding will be provided to this container. It's going to be edge insets dot symmetric, and that's going to be a horizontal padding of around 16. Okay, so we don't maybe need to provide a padding here. If we feel, we will directly provide that to the container. Now we need a main axis spacing. So you can see this is the main axis. So this space between this one and this one, right? You can see my mouse, I believe. So this space is a main axis spacing, and this space will be cross axis spacing, which is this one and this one. So we are going to keep them same, 6.0, cross axis spacing 6.0. Okay, what next? Well, now is the time for the children's. Without children's, list view is nothing, right? So let's go ahead and create children's for that. So if I directly use this is basically saying that it is a list. Why I know it is a list? Well, we are using this, these square brackets, these represent list, and of a data type of widget. We don't want that. We are not going to hard code this widget. So what are we doing? Well, we are using our list of wallpapers. So I'm going to say wallpapers, and I'm going to say dot map. Well, what does this map does? Let's see if it can say it itself. Okay, so I have to explain. So what map is basically doing, it's similar to like a for each loop. You can understand it's going to return us a value, but over here it's like that, it's like for each. You can understand, right? And then we don't want, because this is going to return some data, but we want that to be in a list, so I'm going to say to list. So we have to do that. Okay, once that is done, we want to use this data which we are getting and create list item from it. So I'm going to say return, and the list item is going to be a grid tile. Inside that grid tile, I'm going to have a child, and that child is going to be a container. Inside that container, we are going to use image.network, and inside that image network image, we are going to provide an image URL. So how we are going to get the image URL? So let me first name this as a wallpaper so that you can understand what it is. Now in this wallpaper, I can provide this is actually a model, right? A particular index model. So first will be there, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So that is, we are already getting the exact model. So I can say just dot, and I can use the getter method. So I can say src and dot portrait. So that is working fine. Now what do we want? So we have provided container this, but we have to say child first. So that was the error. Let's fix that and provide a semicolon here. Okay, so we are providing that over here. So okay, so let me also update this name. Now if I copy this, go over here, and just below this container I'll call this, provided whatever it needs wallpaper, so I'll say wallpapers, and it needs context, so I'm going to say context. And I'm also going to provide a little bit of a sized box over here just to keep a little bit distance from the category section. And now if I will hot reload this app, because why am I hot reloading? Because this data will be fetched when the app once the app starts, because in the init state we are calling this get trending wallpapers. Oh my god, everything is gone. Don't worry. Okay, so in the vertical space, as we were facing the problem with the list view, that if we are having a list view or grid view or any kind of scrollable widget, inside of a scrollable widget, which is kind of column or row, then our compiler get confused what to do, and then it just throws out everything. We don't want that. So what can we do? We can just go inside this and use a shrink wrap property to true. Still we are having an error, and that is not very clear to me actually. Okay, so we have to fix that as well. Oh my god, look at that, guys. You have successfully fetched the image and showing them. What next? Well, one thing which I noticed is when I provided that shade to that category, when it loaded, there was no border radius to that, right? So we just have to copy that border radius. Oops. Copy that and use a decoration. Why? Because we are using a border radius, and we can provide that inside the box decoration. Now this is the error which I want you to see. So if I will save this, you will see this to be an error. So what it basically means is, whenever you are using a box decoration, make sure you are not using color outside of it, make sure you are using it inside of it. So if I save that, now it's fine. Okay, so we are also facing this error of bottom overflowed by something pixels. That basically means is we have shrinked our grid view, right, to be like a fixed size. It's not kind of very scrollable thing what is happening. So all the data of it is going below this screen. It doesn't have enough space to show that. To make that more scrollable and so that every data can be scrolled, we are going to fetch or basically wrap our main container of the body with single child scroll view. And if I will save that, you can see it's working perfectly fine. Okay, so the scroll is not very, it's very sticky, you can call, like it's not going. So for that you can use a physics which is clamping scroll physics. What it does, what it means, well, you don't have to learn it. It's basically just use this. Till now I haven't used another physics, so that just works for me. Okay, so you can see it's working perfectly fine, but I can notice that there is a lot of space over here. I don't think I have defined that. Okay, let's see if we did. So go inside the container and provide it a color, and let's see how much the space color this container is taking. Okay, so this is the problem. Because of the dimension of the portrait, it's not able to take this, vertical space of this left. So Scott, what can we do to make sure these images are taking the whole space? Oh, right, as we did in the category section, we are going to do something very similar. We are going to use the fit property, and we are going to say box fit dot cover. So now I can say save, and you can see it's taking the whole space. Looks beautiful, isn't it? Okay, we also want to provide that border radius to this one, so I'm just going to go ahead, and I think the space provided between them is enough, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And inside our wallpaper list, I'm going to do what? I'm going to provide them that border radius. So I'm just going to click on network and wrap it with a widget which is called clip r rect, and save that, reload that. Okay, it's not going to work for you. We are not providing a border radius. Sometimes I really get too much. So I'll say border radius dot circular and provide that to be around 8, and if I save that, you can see we have some good border radius. I think it's more than that, so let's try something like 16, and I think that's exactly what we have over here. Looks beautiful, we are getting everything. Now let's move on and work on the search screen and this category section. Okay, oh my god, why is okay, cars is loaded. So let's go ahead and create that. So I'll close everything other than home, and inside this search icon we have, I'm going to wrap it with a container and provide that some padding. Actually I'm not going to provide a lot of padding. I think it's fine. Just going to wrap it with a widget of gesture detector. And what is gesture detector? Gesture detector is basically used to check if the user is clicking. So if user clicks on this, I can do something by using an on tab property. Actually for this I'm going to use Inkwell. So you may ask, okay Sanskar, what is the difference between them? So basically Inkwell is also going to give us the same property of on tab as well, but on Inkwell there is a kind of visual representation. So if I'll click on this, I don't know why it's not, but there is a little bit. And anyways, so that is a difference. Like if you want to make it visible, like there is a splash, right, when you click on a raised button. That's what kind of properties Inkwell provides, but gesture detector is pretty standard or static. It's not going to have any visual representation. It's just going to perform the action you are going to give over here. Okay, so now if, in the on tab, what do I want? I want to send the user to navigator.push. It's going to take the context, and then we are going to use a material page route. Inside that I'm going to say builder, and inside the builder I'm going to say context, and in that I'm going to say what? Search. Okay, we don't even have that. So let's go to the search.dart file, and we are going to import material, and then we are going to say state full widget search. Okay, so why did you use stateful widget? Well, I use the stateful widget because I know in this one also I'm going to use that init function to get the data. Makes sense? Hope it does. I'll say search. Okay, I just named search. Yeah. Okay, so also what I want to pass the variable or basically the query. So for example, if I type over here Sanskar is awesome, sorry, so I type something here like coding. So if I click on this, I want to go to that search screen, but at the same time I want to have this coding written over there as well, right? So I'm going to send that through this arguments. So what kind of argument stateless widget can accept? We can create a constructor for that. So I'm going to say string, and before that I'm going to make sure it's a final string, and that is going to be a search query. Okay, so okay, yeah, it should be initialized. So to initialize that, we are going to use the constructor, and I'm using the name constructor especially. Again, what is name constructor? Go ahead, and if you type it search query, now you can give the search query. Okay, so what is the search query? Well, we are getting any value from text field for now. So to get that, we have multiple ways. We can use onChanged, which worked as much as the, for example, if I'm typing, for example, I'm writing coding, so when I write C, then I write O, it will be updated one by one. We don't want that much because it's not something which we are doing. There is another option which is text editing controller. I can say search controller equal to new text editing controller. So what text editing controller does is basically you can provide that to the text field. Where is my text field? This is the field. I can say controller, and I can provide this controller, and now inside this search query I can provide this search controller dot text. Make sense? Okay, now to structure that, I'm just going to structure the data by using options command L. It's similar to Windows, something buttons near to this. Okay, what next? Well, we have our coding now. So if I'll save this and type over here coding ing and click on this, we are redirected to this blank black screen. What is this? So well, this is a container. We don't want that. We want a scaffold. Okay. Oh, since I converted to white. Why? Well, this is a scaffold now, so that's why. Now we will be requiring the same app bar in this one. So how was that looking again? So to get that, let me just show you. So this is what we have. So let me just take a new screenshot. Yeah, this is our app. We want this. So okay, Sanskar, I think the app bar is and this search bar is very same, right? We just can copy paste that. Yes, exactly. That's what we are going to do. We are going to go ahead and copy our app bar. Okay, that's good, Sanskar. But why is it showing error? Well, we have to import that. Okay, then let's import that. Okay, now what's Sanskar? Now we want the search bar. Okay, so how can we do that? Well, we have to firstly provide the body. Okay, I'll provide the body. Inside the body we have a container. Okay, we have a container have a child. Okay, container have a child, and then we will use column. Wait a second, why we are using column again? Well, we are using column because we want to arrange the widget vertically. We have this search bar which is a row, then we have this these wallpapers, but wallpapers and this search bar arranged vertically, so we want a column. So inside that column we want to go into home.dot. Where are you, search? So this is the search, so I'm going to copy that. Actually I can just put this on the widget as well because we are using multiple times, but for now let's just skip that. So we are going to create the text editing controller for this one as well. So if some user wants to do searching from this screen itself, he can. Okay, let me type that out. Okay, so now we have that, and now in the click we don't want to send him to the same screen again. Rather what we will do, we will remove this navigator.push fully, and we will create a function actually. Now here's the great thing about creating that API function. We can just copy this whole function. Just literally go ahead and copy that, rename that to be get search wallpaper, SEARCH, and in this one we have to pass the query as well. Sorry, what again, Sanskar? You mean query pass? I don't remember. Well, last time when I showed this string, we know that it is accepting some query, right? So if I copy this URL and provide that one over here, we have to provide it some query. Okay, Sanskar, I got it. Okay, so now we have to say string, and then we can say query, and here I can say that to be $sign and then query, right? Okay, now we need HTTP over here as well, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that. We need to import the API key, so I'm going to import that. We need to JSON decode. I'm going to import Dart convert. We need the wallpaper model, so I'm going to import wallpaper model. This is the model class which we created, and this is a list which we want, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that list. Yeah, you may be thinking we have not written a lot of code here. We are just copy pasting, and that's exactly the thing. We should write as less as possible. Now one problem which we will space in this one, but I feel major of the things are done. Okay, so as I was saying that in this search screen, we don't want the user to be clicking on this and opening this screen again. What we want is rather we will be getting that query, whatever he have, through the search controller.text, and we will be passing that to this function of get search wallpaper. So first thing, before that function, we want to call this get search wallpaper initially when the app starts itself. So app, or I mean the screen opens for the first time, I'm going to say, so we want to get this string, right, which we are getting from the home. So how we can access the one string over here to here, because if you write search directly, it doesn't show the option of search query. So here's how we do it. We type widget dot search query. Okay, clear? So now we are passing that search query in the get search wallpaper function, and it's going to get the response from there of a particular query which we have submitted over here, and save that to our list of wallpaper models, and that will be passed on to the list. So now we can even go ahead and copy that one as well. This one, copy that and just paste that over here. And I think I have written enough code. I should just go ahead and save this. So let me restart the app all over again. And now if I type over here coding and search, you can see we are over here, but it's not visible over here, right? So we should provide that. So the search is working, guys. That's good, but we want the that text to be visible over here as well, and we want a little bit of spacing, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that sized box and provided that little bit spacing required. And because we are facing this bottom overflow, we are going to wrap our main container inside a single child scroll view. And because we want the text over here, so to provide an initial text to our text field, what we do, we go inside the init state, and over here we can say text, sorry, search controller dot text is equals to widget dot search query. Okay, I can save this, and now if I type over here love, I was not able to think of something else. It's not working, but I want to make it work. How can I? Okay, so we haven't done that part, so I'm going to say get search wallpapers, and we are going to pass the search controller.text, and then I'm going to save that, and if I search that, well, it should work out of the box. Let me see what we should have worked out. Well, we have written that. So is it updated? I think the text should be updated. Let me reload it again and let's restart it. So now if I pass coding here, so the coding is visible over here as well, but if I remove that and I type something like love, it's not working, right? So we have this, and inside the search controller we have this get wallpaper function, and we want to set that, but it's not working perfectly fine. So what can be the problem? We are providing the query. Okay, so we have to pass in the query, and we are providing that to be a search.text, I think, which is not updated according to this, which should be, but we'll get back to this. let's first set these things up, because the category section is going to be a really quick thing. But one thing let me just quickly do is, this is like kind of over at this side, right? We want this to be in the center, but it is this side. So let me show you the rich text, guys. I think that is something which you will learn a lot about. So just search rich text Flutter if you don't know about it already. Open up the first link, copy this one. This is how I do it. But yeah, so now what we can do, we can update that brand name thing. You can go to the project and go to the widget, and rather than using this row, you can just get rid of that row and use this. So what is rich text? You can basically provide different kind of stylings in the simple single text. So I can provide this wallpaper, and we don't have a context specifically, so I'm going to say text style and something simple as font size to be 16. This is going to be the default text style, right? Now I can say wallpaper hub over here, and now I can provide this color separately. So now I can say font, actually colors dot blue, and I can get rid of this font weight. I don't want that, and I can get rid of this void. Now if I'll save that, oh my god, this text is lost. So we want to provide this text a little bit of styling as well. So I'm going to copy this and paste this, cut this, paste this, make this black, and get rid of this text. And if I see that, it's visible, but it's not exactly what we want, right? We want something better than this. So we are going to say font weight dot 500. Yeah, it looks good. Good. So if I go back, you can see everything is updated. Okay, now you can see we don't have to use that row and thing. Now I want to click on any of these categories, and it should work like how we want, like basically opening similar screen, but we don't need the search bar. So I'm going to say import material, and I'm going to say state full category, and as I mentioned before, categories is not something kind of a different API which Pexels provide. We are directly going to use the same function which we use in this search wallpaper, but with a query which we are getting from this one. So let me see what is happening. The first thing which we need is HTTP. I am going to copy that, and we need this API key. I'm going to import that. We need JSON decode, so I'm going to import Dart convert and wallpaper model and wallpaper model. Okay, we need this wallpaper, so I'm going to go in the search. I'm going to copy both of them, or maybe one. It's fine because we don't have a text field to need that. Okay, then inside this init state, we want to call this function which is get search wallpaper with a query, and that query will be get it through this one. So I'm going to say final string category name, which is simply a query, guys, right? Category and this dot category name, and inside that what we can do, we can copy. Now what do you have problem? Okay, I'm not going to just show me that error. I don't care. Now I can, as we have done that, we can say widget dot category name. Okay, now it will be getting that. So inside this, we don't want to show a container, we want to show a scaffold. Let me just zoom in a little bit if it's not visible perfectly. We are going to use the same app bar which we used in this search screen. We are going to say app bar, copy that. We are going to have this all same, so I'm going to just copy it and remove what is not required. So paste that in this one. We need to import the brand name. Imported that perfectly. We don't need this row, so I'm going to get rid of that, and can just get rid of that. Let's now just restart this, refresh. Okay, so now what we want to open this category screen when we click on these categories. So we are going to go inside our category tiles, and then wrap with a widget which is going to be a gesture detector, and in that we are going to have an on tap functionality. In on tap we are going to use navigator dot push, and then it's going to be material page root, and inside we are going to provide builder which is going to be context, and then where we want to go. So we want to go to this category screen. We have named it category, this one. Yeah, so inside that we are going to say category name. What is the name of the category? Well, we are going to just get this title and dot to lowercase. If you want, it's not must. I think their querying thing should be good enough. But yeah, that's what I want. If I save this now or restart, and if I click on this, this is the category screen. What? Does it close that screen? Okay, it is loading. So you can see we are loading all these. So category section is working fine as well, and the search is working. If I go to wildlife, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Oh my god, we forget one thing. We want to show that image. Okay, that is something which we have to implement. So when I will click on this image, I want to show that in another screen. So that view is going to be called something like image view. In that I'm going to say import material, and that is going to be state. What should we make? We can make that a stateful widget, um, and that will be an image view. And inside that container, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a scaffold. One thing very important, guys, if you see the app, this one, if I click on the image, this is a hero animation. Okay, what is happening, that whenever I click on the image, it opens up like it is. So that is the hero animation. How we do that? We simply wrap our container. Where do we have that? Where do we have that? This one, inside a widget which is called hero, not zero, hero, and we provide a tag to it. That tag can be anything. I'm just going to provide the image URL. So I'm just going to say image URL, and when we click on that hero image, I'm going to have on gesture detector on that. So I'm going to say gesture detector, and I'm going to provide on tap. In the on tap, I'm going to say, what should I say? Well, in the on tap, I'm going to say go to navigator.push and material page route. Inside that we have builder, then we provide context, and then we are going to just send them to image view, which is this one. Okay, so what do we want inside image view? We want to show that image inside the image view. Yeah, that makes sense. uh, how we want to show that is basically it's going to be a whole container, and actually it's going to be a stack. If you can see, if I click on the image, it's a full image, and then it have some thing above of it. So I'm going to use a stack for that. I'm going to say children. First thing first, I'm going to use an image dot network, and we need to get that URL. So how can we get that? Through here I can say final string image URL, and I can say image view this dot image URL, and yeah, to use that we can just say widget dot image URL, and it should work fine. Same problem will be there, but because I have already showed you, so I don't think I need to show those errors. We just can directly use the fit property over here. Why? Because it will not, we want to make sure it takes the whole space. And we can do one more thing, which is we can provide it a height and width. Okay, so we are going to provide the height and width to it. So I'm just going to wrap it inside a container, and we are going to say the height. So what is going to be the height? We want the height of the display. So how we get that? We get the height of the display by using media query dot of context dot size dot height. And how we can get the width? We use width by using media query dot of context dot size dot width, and we can save that now. So we want this very beautiful looking button. It's basically a container. I'll show you how we can use that. So this is the container we have. Now we want to stack this image. So this is going to create an image, and that image is going to cover the whole screen. Now what we want to have these two buttons above it. So these two buttons are arranged vertically, so we are going to use a column for this. Inside that column we simply have one container, and then we have a text. Then we can say child. Inside the text, it's must to provide it some value, so I'm going to say cancel. It's going to have some styling, which is basically the text color at least, so I'm going to say color, colors dot white. Oops, colors dot white. Good. Okay, now inside this container I have this gradient thing, right, going on, but before that I also have a column inside that, which is basically because there is arrangement of vertical arrangement of two widget, right? So that's why. So we have the first widget as a text, and that widget is set wallpaper, and then we have text, we have image will be saved in gallery. Okay, now what we are going to do next? Well, we have this set wallpaper. We need to provide a decoration to use that gradient thing, so I'm going to say box decoration. Inside the box decoration I am going to go ahead and say gradient, linear gradient, and to use the colors I'm going to use them from this. So where is the image view? We are using colors, this one. Okay, so these are the colors which, okay, we have to first say colors, and then we are going to provide it a list, and this is what it is. So now let me just close this, guys, and show what we have, this one. So okay, one thing more, we have provided the hero in this one, but we haven't provided the hero over here, so we have to provide the hero over here. So I'll wrap this widget with a hero, sorry, hero, and inside of that hero I need to provide that tag, and that is going to be img url, sorry, widget.img url. As per I expect, this should work. Let's see what happens. The click thing is not working. Why is that? Well, I have provided the, oh my god, how awesome I am, eh? Like, I have provided the hero to this categories, so I'm just going to get rid of that, remove this widget. We have also this thing which we don't want, so let me just get rid of that. I have provided this at the wrong place, guys, sorry for this. We actually want to go inside the widget, grid tile, actually in the container, hero. Okay, this on tap property we have, so I'm going to wrap my hero with widget, which is going to be a gesture detector. Inside that, on the on tap, we are going to send the user to the image view. Inside image view, let's make this a required parameter. So that it shows that parameter image URL is required. So I can say image URL, and that will be image URL. No, we have that as a wallpaper per dot sarc dot portrait. And if I save this now, it shows that tag is not equals to null. Okay, so tag should not be null, so let me update that. I'm going to say tag, and that is going to be the same, so I'm going to say save. Okay, it's working perfectly fine, but this is being like our, let me go to this. This container is like at the top, we don't want that. So first thing first, I'm going to provide the same width and height to this container, and then I'm going to say alignment. What does alignment means? Alignment basically helps us to align the child of the container. So the child, which is a column, we want to align this at the bottom center. So I'm going to say bottom center, and if I will save that, you can see it will be in the bottom center. Okay, you are at the top, bro. You are not at the right place. Okay, actually the reason for that is it is aligned, but this column is taking the whole space, you know, the vertical space. So we have to align the children of the column as well. So the main axis alignment is this, and in the main axis alignment of column, you know, which is vertical, we want to align the elements in center, not in the center, actually in the end. So I'm going to say that, I'm going to save that, and now you can see it's over here. We want to have some space from bottom as well. So below this, I'm going to say sized box, height around 50. I think it should work fine. and as you can see, it's working perfectly fine. We want to provide some border as well, right? We want border radius, we want border. So the first thing is border. Let's provide some border. I'm going to say border, and we are going to say color, and that color, okay, we have to say border dot all, and then we can provide color. So what is this? This is basically to provide a border line kind of. So we can say colors dot white. We are using a 70 shade. It's just kind of, yeah, so you can see this is how it is, and we can actually decrease this to white 60 just to make sure it's not highlighted enough. Then I'm going to provide a width of 1. I don't want this to be main point of vision kind of. That you don't have to worry about that. So we can say border radius, and we want this, what am I doing, man? Radius circular around 30. That's what we provided to our search. Okay, makes sense, but we need some padding. So I said padding. Okay, for this what I'm thinking is, let's do one thing. Let me provide it a width which is going to be media query dot off context. So basically dot size dot width divide by 2. So basically the width of the container, half of the width of the container. Okay, that makes sense, I think so. So now I can say style, text style. I feel this text is too big, I don't want that. I'm just going to make that like that, and I think the padding is required as well. So I'm going to say padding edge insets dot symmetric. I can say horizontal around 8. Okay, and I can provide some vertical padding as well, which is going to be around 8. Okay, I think I can make some changes like this. Okay, yeah. Then we also want to give it some color, which is going to be colors dot white. This should be more highlighted than the border, of course. So I'm just going to increase that to something a little bit lesser than that. So I'm going to go for 54 and remove that 0 and save that. Same styling will be provided to our set wallpaper, but of course the text size should be around 16 something. So I'm going to save that, and now you can see that set wallpaper is there. We want a little bit of space between these both the, so I'm going to provide that. That's too much. We don't need 50 spacing, so I'm just going to make that something like 16. And if I will save that, you can see we have a space and we have this beautiful button over here. One thing which is also important is this white was not working fine for some of the images which have a white background, so I also provided a black color to it, like basically a container, and stacked it with a container which have a black color to it. So what I did was this, I said stack, and in the title stack I said children. I pasted this as obvious, but also I created a different container which is going to be a container which is going to have a same width as this one, and also I fixed the height. So I can say height to be around 50. I think 50 is what I provided, right? Yeah, 50. So I'm going to provide the same height to this, and I can say color, and there is a special color code which I use. It's not too black, it's not too white. This one with opacity. Let me just use the color code. So 0xFF is because we are using the color hack code, and that's 100% opacity, but this is the color code of that. So I can use this with opacity 0.8 with opacity. Okay, now if I'll save this, you can see it's over here. Now what we want, when we click on this set wallpaper, this screen should be closed. Okay, so once we have provided this, what we want next is when we will click on this button, this image should be closed. So how we can do that? We can basically surround our stack with a widget which is called gesture detector, and that is going to detect any kind of on tap functionality for us, and we can call a function accordingly. So to close the screen, we can simply call navigator.pop, and it's going to close the screen for us. So if I will save this function, if you click on this, it's going to close that. Now very importantly, we are going to require to use something so that we can save this image in the gallery. How we can do that? We are going to use a plugin which is called this image gallery saver. This is a plugin which we will be using. As I mentioned, the source code link is below, so you can just go ahead and copy that from there. We are going to use image gallery, and let me import all these different which we will be requiring. We are let's just not add this, but we need random, we need Dio, we need the permission handler as well. And I'm also going to use this cached network image, so let me do that as well. And yeah, I think that's fine. Now just click on packages.get. These are different things that you will be using. Since the video is already quite long, so I'll not be using the web launcher. It's not very complicated, guys. It's a simple thing, but we are right on time, right? So that's why. Okay, so I have updated that all. Now what we want to save this, right? So for saving that, let me just close this lib folder, and inside the home itself, or let's create a function here, right? So let me make it very simple for you guys, because in that function there is not much to learn. If you go inside the home, it's a function created for you, right? So I have already created a whole function for that. This is a save, and this is for asking permission. It's that simple. Whenever you want to save an image, just copy this function and paste it anywhere. It's going to work for you very easily. You obviously need this import gallery saver package, and import this do as well, this, and import this not HTML, IO, this permission handler as well. And this is basically going to help us to type data. Basically this all will help us to save the image to the gallery. Now for the image path, we actually are going to have a string. You can define it here if you want, you can define it directly over there, but the thing is we need to provide that a value, right? So that's why we included that random string. I don't know where I'm providing that value, um, but yeah, you don't have to. It's going to be provided over here. So I have that to be an error. It says it's a final and should be provided. Just give me a second. Why am I saying it's a final string? Well, I need to use this variable path, not the image path. So let me just close that and paste that. Okay, so yeah, this is basically the URL which you have to pass, right? So it's going to be image URL, right? So just provide that, and you need to now just call this save function from the navigator.pop. So I'm going to actually just call this function, and I'm going to call this navigator.pop after that. So once that all is done, okay, I am actually already doing that in the save function. So now it will work perfectly fine for Android for now, but it will not work for perfectly for the iOS. So for iOS there is a little bit important condition to do, and that is to add just 2-3 lines of code to your iOS folder, and then runner, and then info.plist. Inside that we have interesting. Let me show you. Image gallery saver. Go to perp.dev, search for image gallery saver, open the first link, and this is what you have to add in the iOS. NS photo library add users description. So you have to go to your runner folder. What is this? No, not this one. You have to go to your iOS, then runner, then info.plist. Inside that, just after the string, any one string, it doesn't matter which string, create a key. It's like an HTML thing, like HTML we have these. So inside the key, paste this photo users description, and this is the description. So then you can provide a string, which is going to be string, and that is going to be we must to save image to gallery. Okay, then I'm going to close this, and we have it done. Okay, so make sure it's working. It worked perfectly fine. I'm going to close all the app, and I'm going to rerun this. So let's wait for it for a second, and if we see what's left for now, we have worked on almost everything, and if this function works, we will be completed with the app. So yeah, let's wait for a second or two and make sure it's working fine. So in the run, we have launching main.dart on iPhone 11 Pro. Okay, so as it is finally open, now if we click on any of the image, you can see it's a hero animation which is happening. So if I click on this set wallpaper, it says lost connection to the device. So what are we missing? We are on this app, and let's see if we are have made any mistake in this. We have this string, we have must to save, and we have this key, we have this key, we have string. um, we are also using that permission handler. Okay, so inside that permission handler, what we have to do, platform, okay, platform dot is, we only have to do this if it's an Android. If it is not, we don't have to wait for ask permission. Let's rerun the app again. This permission handler is going to take care of that. Okay, so it is successfully launched. Now if I click on the image and click on set wallpaper, okay, it asks for the permission that this particular app would like to add to your photos, and then this is the description which we provided: must to save image to gallery. You will click on OK, and that image should be added to the gallery. Now let's have a look. It's the last image, so yeah, it's working perfectly fine on the iOS. And let's see street art. We are able to get the categories. If we click on wildlife, we are able to get these as well, and if I click on any of these, you can see we are getting this option. Okay, one thing which we missed was this black color don't have that border radius, so let's fix that quick. So to fix that, we basically have to copy the border radius of this one, go inside this, and we will say decoration, then box decoration. Now since, as I mentioned before, we are not allowed to use color outside if we are using a box decoration, so we will do that same, and if I will save that, you can see that it's gone. Also, one thing which I would like to have is basically when I click on the cancel, this screen should close. So I'll wrap it in a widget. It's going to be a gesture detector, and I'm going to have an on tap which is going to say navigator dot pop, and that's all. So if I'll save that now and click on cancel, it's going to close this. If I open this, cancel, open this, cancel. Okay, so it's working perfectly fine, guys. I hope you learned a lot in this, especially the API stuff, because some people like get really terrified with that. I was also initially, so I hope I was able to clear that for you. You also learned about saving images to the database, and if your project is successfully completed, make sure to comment your GitHub link. I'll be more than happy to check them out. And yeah, thanks for watching till the end. I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to subscribe if you like the content which I'm putting over here, and also let me know your suggestion, any feedback if you have, in the comments. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like button, you know, and make sure to hit that notification bell also if you don't want to miss any other upcoming content. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.